and a very, very big welcome and a hello to you on this webinar where we're going to ask the question, defining your why. This webinar came from a conversation between myself and Dennis some time ago, where we basically we didn't lock horns, but we had differing ideas about the best way that people can deal with the why thing. And the why thing starts off, as we know from the Simon Sinek piece. And my concern is that everyone thinks they need to have a why, and if they don't have a why, they feel like they're not whole, they're not complete, their business is missing. And I just think that we haven't really explored the why thing properly, and it's misunderstood by people. So let's introduce ourselves online, see who we've got here. We've got myself, Robert Craven from the UK, author of Grow Your Digital Agency. And then if we go over to the States, we've got Dennis. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, and I am the CEO and founder of Blitz Metrics, and I've brought two other colleagues that are going to give a killer presentation on this topic. Anna Laycock.
Hey guys, I'm the director of brand performance here at Blitz. I've been a keynote speaker with Dennis a few times internationally, and I'm super excited to talk about why we do what we do.
And we've also just come back from a trip in the UK. Love hanging out with Robert. Any opportunity to hang out with Robert. And we have Enrique Marin.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Pleasure to be here. I'm a former United States Marine combat veteran, and I'd like to share a lot of different experiences, especially when it comes to defining your why. So it's a pleasure to be here.
And he runs an agency as well. He bench presses 520 pounds, and he will kill you.
Well, I'm glad we got some distance. That's cool. But I mean, seriously, this thing about the why thing. We all think we need to have a why. We all believe there's one. And I suppose I'll start off by talking about an agency I work with, who are actually an award-winning agency. They are in the world. They are in Google's top sort of literally two or three digital agencies. They had the consultants in, and the consultants said, "You've got to have a why. You've got to have a why. Your agency is not complete." Even though they're winning every award under the sun, and they love what they're doing, and everyone knows what's going on and how it works. And they spent 3 or 4 months with this consultant clearly taking fees, trying to understand what their why was. And they ended up being told to create like a 50-60 page document and to have meetings with everyone in the group to really understand what their why was. And yet they said, look, this is really simple. We're a bunch of guys and gals who love doing our work. We love working together. We're really committed to doing really great work for really great clients, having a really great time doing it. And that's what we do. But for the consultant, that wasn't good enough. So, I mean, I guess I'll throw it over to you, Dennis. I mean, who do you think's right? Do you think the client was right? Do you think the consultant was right?
I think the client was right, and they were getting fleeced by the consultant. Of course, the consultant wants to charge their fee and have people go on a boondoggle according to their process. But the why, like you said, can be as simple as a group of friends that want to work together, that don't want to be in corporate America, and they like the freedom, their clients. But certainly for a lifestyle business, for a smaller group, that's fine. And not every agency, as you and I know, needs to grow. A small group of 6 or 7 guys and girls, that can be fine. You don't have to grow to 50 people necessarily. You don't have to have a giant office in London. You don't have to have, awards at Cannes or other folks, right?
But these guys I'm talking about, they had 50, 60 people, and they're still growing strong. So there's something. Let me just give you another example. This conversation will come together slowly but surely. I've got a really quite close friend of mine. Read the book, Simon Sinek, Find Your Why. Mm-hmm. She hasn't got one, and she feels incomplete, and she feels not whole because she's not got a why. And she actually said to me, if I only had a why, my life would be worth living, but I don't seem to have one. But so there's a couple of things going on here which maybe we can start splitting out in the conversation. One, there's the business purpose, and the personal purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of one thing that we clearly need to differentiate. And secondly, there's, what Simon Sinek said,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's been interpreted and translated and abused and used by the consultants. I see you've got the fantastic Budweiser advert out there. I mean, I was virtually on the floor laughing with that when that came out. That is like the funniest thing. Would you like to just tell the listeners about this? Because this just sums up the ridiculousness of some of the conversation about purpose.
Yeah, it's funny because if you take a look at some of the biggest companies in the world, Budweiser being one of them, they want to fit in, right? They have this great cause now. They're supporting Pride Month every June. They get to throw a rainbow up on pretty much every advert that they have. But people are starting to see through this, right? It's not a why. They didn't become a beer company specifically for the LGBT community, right? So that's a phony why. Versus somebody that is like my buddy Enrique, who's a 18-year combat veteran Marine who's focused on helping veterans, right? But he also has the content and he has the processes proven to help veterans have success in finding jobs and getting digital marketing training and so on. So how can we get from companies being, the Papa John's with a rainbow on it to companies that have an actual purpose, an actual mission, and have the proof in their process to show their customers?
When you're working, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think there's more to it than that, which is that, by definition, the majority of large corporates with shareholders at the front and center and middle of their purpose, really, and how they operate. All they can do is bring in the big consultancies to help them improve their brand and to sort out their so-called presentation to the market, because all they're trying to do is sell more stuff to increase the share price. Now that's probably really cynical. I mean, I certainly know I've worked with probably the largest charity in the world, and clearly a charity has a purpose which is a specific impact on a specific community in a specific manner, and you can see there that a large organization can have purpose. So to my mind, as a kind of a starter for the conversation, not-for-profit organizations, get it, they can have a purpose. They're working to help underprivileged children read because they know that will improve the chances of the children getting jobs and becoming proper members of society. Interestingly enough, I think small businesses, I can see small businesses, we're a bunch of 5 or 10 people and we do what we do because we love it and we want to get out there and show South London that, there's a better way of doing digital work than the way it's currently done. So I kind of get that. Individual purpose, totally get it, but I just don't think it's compulsory. And I do quite a lot of speaking in Vistage, which is this peer-to-peer support network. It's in the States, it's in the UK. And I find half the entrepreneurs, when you say, let's talk about, before we do vision, mission, strategy, let's talk about the purpose of your business. Half of them, when you mention purpose, just tell you to bog off. Just bog off. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm here to make money. Why are you even mentioning how people feel and so on and so forth? And then the other half are saying, I now realize that if I can pull everything together, if I can get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, then that's going to be way more powerful than people just rocking up at 9 o'clock and leaving at 5. So that's my start for 10.
The majority of branding and why is superficial because it comes externally, because someone had to choose it. You don't get to choose your parents, and your why, because of your background, because of your experience, is what defines who you are and what you care about. So the friends that we have, you and I, Robert, we have many that have successful agencies that don't have a why. You're right, it's not compulsory. Yet at the same time, would you agree, from a practical standpoint, not Super Bowl ads or things that big brands do, that it is important to choose a niche, something you get good at? that you're known for being good at.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you know that I am a huge fan of, we call them niches, but niche. We're a huge fan of niches, and in fact, we're an even bigger fan of niches within niches. So like you really want to be in a category of one, and then you're really cooking on gas.
when you have a niche and you really, really specialize in that, not just gyms, but let's say CrossFit gyms,
Yeah.
right? Not just orthodontists, but the endodontists that specialize in very crazy root canals, right? Something you're really good at, and you service just those.
Yeah.
There are processes that you build. There's a network that you build. There's other things that come together when you have something we call a lighthouse client. And a lighthouse is the one that attracts like businesses that allow you to serve that particular client repeatably. So let's say that you serve Italian restaurants, then you can serve another 50 Italian restaurants, and that actually is halfway towards a why. So a niche or a niche, or potato. Also, here's another thing. So I worked in big corporate for 10 years at Yahoo and American Airlines. And one of my friends, Tony Schmidt's mentor of mine, who started 3 companies that became NASDAQ traded, so made lots of money, doesn't need money anymore, right? Which is great. He said, the intersection of job happiness is when you work with people that you like, doing something that you like, and you're making money, right? Yeah. And most people, they have one of those 3. If they're reasonably fortunate, they have 2 of those 3. And maybe they're doing something, for example, you and I have a lot of friends that are lawyers, and they're probably making a lot of money, but they might not be doing something that they like. Or they're working with friends from school, old mates that, but they're not maybe in an industry they like, but their friends are in this other place. Or they're in an industry they like, but they're not being paid, or any 2 of those 3, right? And yes, you can get by. You can even have a successful agency by having 1 or 2 of those 3, but I believe that if you're going to have all 3, you're going to have your cake and eat it too. You have to have a why if you're going to have all 3. And the way we like to see that intersection is when you're working with clients that it doesn't even feel like business. It feels like you're with friends. So Tanner, for example, and by the way, the part of the niche is that you have to niche. I can't even say, I don't know how to say it. Is that you have to, let's just go to Facebook, for example, right? Oh, look, there's our little post. People are clicking like on that. And this is the whole work versus play kind of thing. It's so mixed up in my mind. I really can't even tell the difference. And the people I know that are doing really well, it's the same for them. There's no work-life balance in a good way. So Tanner can talk about what that means specifically with his example, because when you choose one niche, that means you're saying no to everyone else. So even though Tanner and Enrique both have the skills to service mega corporate enterprise. So we have a lot of enterprise clients, right? They have the skills necessary to do that. But from a branding and niche perspective, that's not something they would take on. Not because it doesn't align with their purpose, but in terms of the perceived value of driving clients in that area, we have to show that there's a high concentration in that particular area around the lighthouse.
Yeah, so we're over here in Vegas. I needed to go back and have dinner with one of my clients, Matthew Janisak. He's the CEO of Escape Fitness. And it's funny because when I got there, it was just a casual meeting. We went to Orange County. It's where I live, where Matthew lives, and we had dinner, we had beers. We talked a little bit about, some of the business stuff that we're working on. But then afterwards, we just talked. We just had fun. We just talked about what he's interested. Like, he has a new AMG coupe. We talked about his kid. We talked about his lifestyle and where he's going. And it's funny because I was a past college athlete. So I obviously have a huge love for fitness and for sports. And Matthew Janisak is the exact same way. So I get to hang out with industry experts in the topic that I really, really care about, right? So what happens then is we start to collaborate. He starts to bring in other people that he's friends with that are also in the fitness space. Now I'm getting to work with a whole group of clients that are focused on either making somebody healthier, and we can reuse each piece from different people. So for example, imagine that you had a bunch of friends and they all worked in health and fitness, right? But each one of you does something very, very, like you said, right? A very niche inside a niche,
Yeah.
right? So now I'm working with a bunch of niches inside of niches, all focused around fitness. We can all collaborate. We can all use the same list. We can all succeed in business together. How fun is that? Now we're not competing and we're all working within fitness. We can pretty much use anything we want. We can say whatever we want within reason. So it's really fun to be able to get within a fitness industry. Maybe you want to do PPC, maybe you want to do health or lawyers or whatever it is. When you work within the industry you care about, it naturally spreads into more clients.
And by taking care of this relationship over the years, Matthew can't help but introduce us to the other people that are part of his network. So the fact that he is an icon in the fitness industry means that we have connections and get to meet the people that run like a 24-hour fitness or a Lifetime, the presidents of these companies, of these chains, the other manufacturers that make barbells and fitness equipment, the other people that are maybe like a Mr. Olympia, or they've won gold medals in the Olympics. And it's just awesome to be able to travel and spend time with these people, because it's something I would even pay to hang out with these other people. And we were on his podcast. We've had dinner with him multiple times. We are making money together and driving leads. And here, I'll show you an example of another one. Like we have Mike Arce. I think he was a combat veteran. And here he is. He's holding the flag, and he is serving, I think he's got 300, 400 clients that are gyms, right? And they have the same customer base as Escape Fitness, which is an equipment manufacturer, right? So Mike Arce, who runs Loud Rumor, drives leads for gym owners, and those same gym owners are buying gym equipment. Guess what? They're both clients, and we're implementing a similar process. Like Tanner said, we're using the same lists. This intersects with our military friends and figureheads. So when we look at Enrique and what he's doing, he's got Salute to Suit and fitness and military and PTSD and making a transition and being successful in business and building your network and looking good and being able to interview. All these topics intersect with each other. So we have perceived authority because we can intersect those audiences to build trust on top of trust and cross-sell and upsell. But we have actual authority because we have checklists on how we can execute, because we know how to drive sales among the military, among people that want to get fit, among people that like military-ish programs. We have, for example, you probably don't do this, Robert, but you know the runs on the weekend, you can go like 5 miles over obstacles and this kind. We have a couple of those guys as clients. Huge intersection, because we understand that audience. We understand what they think. We understand what they care about. We have so many clients in the same space, and that then creates why, because. Go ahead.
Yeah, but what you're talking about, I get niche 100%, and I spent this afternoon on a call to a lawyer who specializes in agencies, and hey, it's like, it's a no-brainer. We'll run a conference together, and we'll do podcasts, and we're not directly in competition, but we then realize we know other people and we can pull it in. So I'm absolutely with you on niching and niching within niching, because my thing is business growth for digital agencies. So I absolutely get that, but I'm just struggling slightly with the purpose why conversation. cynical, because surely people could be what's the word I'm looking for? Mercenary, and say, okay, let's look for a niche where we can make loads of money, and whether it's double glazing, selling windows, roofs, putting up garden fences, or selling insurance, they just go for it. So they go for it, and they are ruthless, and all they are about making money. That's not a purpose. That's just someone trying to make loads of money. So what's the difference between being highly focused and exploitative and manipulative, and someone with a purpose? I guess that's
you and I are both cynical on that front. Mark Twain said that the key to being successful is to be genuine. Fake that and you got it made. And why do people laugh? Because we are all cynical of salespeople. We understand that they're going to say whatever it is to, just like, does your dog really love you? Or does the waiter at the restaurant, when she says, oh, I hope you have a nice day, does she really care? Or is she just saying it to get a bigger tip, right? And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle because of humanity, because, people have to pay their bills. Now, when we think about the topic wheel, and we think about, like what you mentioned, industries where people might be there just to make money, like insurance, which is basically a money business, right?
Yeah.
Or roofing, or things that are just one-off where you're not developing relationships over time. Yeah. We have a friend, Caleb Williams, who is one of the top insurance brokers in the United States, and he has a clear why. And that why, which is these outside circles here, the ones in white that are not filled in because this is a template. These are stories that tie around topics about taking care of your family, about maximizing yourself as your number one asset, which means invest in yourself because it's tax-free in the government, right? Or about being a person who is balanced because you are happy, healthy, and wealthy. Or financial literacy and understanding as an entrepreneur where you're going to put your money, where you can take risks that are smart, right? So he's got lots of these topics. He's got a podcast, which then goes into the whys, and he's interviewed other people that are experts in these other areas. And that's the how. Those are the colorful circles there. And that then transitions to his what, which is you need to buy overfunded full-term life insurance, right? Or I think it's called whole life in the United States, right? And that works super well because it drives people from the stories, because he's interviewing other people and he's sharing knowledge that goes to topics where people are understanding, here's what you need to know about a Roth IRA. Here's what entrepreneurs need to know about Social Security and what it means in terms of taxes, right? Here is how Uncle Sam is going, and here's what the difference is between term life versus whole life, right? And it goes all the way down to the product, which is sign up with him so that when you buy insurance from him, you get a commission, or he gets a commission, right? Yeah. And so there's the idea of why, how, and what, which is the outside, middle to the center in this topic wheel, is absolutely critical to attracting and closing customers for that underlying client and for the underlying agency. Now, whether they actually believe in those words, who knows? But we still know this framework works because the underlying consumers, all else equal, to work with a company that at least pretends that they care. And thus, because people are people, clients, when they're selecting the agency, would like to, all else equal, work with someone that understands them, or at least pretends to understand them and pretends to care.
The good guys.
Yeah.
And I guess the problem with Budweiser is that they were pretending to be the good guys, and it was cynical and manipulative. That would be, I mean, that would be the argument about why that campaign, I mean, it really backfired with the community it was aiming at. The community was absolutely offended, and they saw right through it. They saw what was going on.
They're trying to be everything to everyone. And I was thinking, Robert, you and I should create a website or a handle or something like that. And we'll call it Simon Cynical. It's an anti-why. I wonder if someone even has that, you know? That'd be fantastic.
The silence. So just, I mean, just staying on this one for a moment. So one of the things which kind of went wrong, I think, and I feel sorry for Sinek, because Simon Sinek, partly because he's not here to defend himself, and partly because I think he's been, you know, it became bigger than him. He wrote a book, I mean, it must be 20 years ago now. The book was originally about personal development. He was originally in personal development. He then realized, I guess, I'm now making up a bit and joining some of the dots. He then realized that on the corporate stage, he could deliver the same message, and it would be lucrative, and it would be kind of more of the same. And then he had a tremendously successful TED talk, which is kind of flipping this personal business development thing. And you know, the example he always gives is, you know, Apple is, you know, the classic example that they have this why, which determines their how, which determines their what, and that's why they're successful. Whereas Dell, who had a what, and therefore, which was, you know, hey, we sell computers through a multi-distribution network, which is the how, and why we do that is because we're a computer company, was flat. Now, I'm quite keen on kind of evidence-based research and so on and so forth, and I've not really found any research which can claim for there being anything more than a correlation between purpose-led businesses and profitability. And yet there's a kind of an implication, as always when we're standing on stage, because when we're on stage, we are trying to sell something, trying to sell an idea. People stand on stage endlessly saying, if you have a why, then you'll be more profitable. If you have a why, you'll have a happier business. If you have a, and the trouble is that most of you don't have a compelling why, and all the audience go away going, oh gosh, yeah. But if you'd presented it to the audience, which I think all of us on this call are agreed, that niche within a niche is fantastic. Niche is pretty good, but most of you, the trouble for most of you in the audience is you don't have a niche, and therefore you don't differentiate yourself from your competitors, and therefore you don't know how to segment your customers, and therefore everything kind of falls apart. So I'm absolutely happy with going, you know, straight to 1961, or straight backwards to 1961. Theodore Levitt, Harvard Business Review, on marketing myopia, where he just absolutely nails, you know, the fact you need to be able to segment and differentiate. He absolutely nails that tactics, the stuff that we see, is kind of irrelevant unless you understand strategy, and actually strategy is actually relevant unless you understand the customer. So it's kind of everything starts with the customer and small discrete groups of customers who behave in a similar manner, also known as segmentation. So and maybe the why purpose phrase is just the wrong label, or maybe that's just being taken by the consultants, and that's why everyone's a bit of a loss.
Well, just because it's been abused, I don't think means that we should throw it away like the baby in the bathwater.
Agreed.
From a more practical standpoint, agencies want to have their clients be successful so they have more retention, and they want to attract more clients, which done properly with this lighthouse client that we have here means that you're going to get more referrals. Then the question is, how do you do that? Well, part of it is having a niche, but part of it is that you have to bring in other business owners who are humans that want to do business with you. And we have found, and of course we are not necessarily an example of the entire industry, you know, results may vary. All of our clients have come inbound. We have never had any cold calling, any prospecting, any of this, hey, let's hop on a 15-minute phone call and explain what we do, because we start from authority and we have a why. A why is not necessary to be successful, depending on how you define success, but we find that purpose-led agencies, of which we know and consult for many, that have a legitimate why, not this bogus kind of. So you're right. All the evidence-based research basically shows that there isn't a correlation because you have all this bogus purpose marketing where, you know, we'll give 10% of our profits, or, you know, let's endorse this one thing because we on social media we have to say we have to have a stand against women that are getting abused, or whatever the topic is, right? But if there was a way to separate out those that truly do, and when I mean truly do, I don't mean that they passionately believe, I mean it is integrated in their operations, then here's what happens from a practical standpoint. The execution of the client work is your marketing. You don't have a separate content team. You don't have a separate sales and marketing piece. Because they build it, it's built into what you do at the core. So for Blitz and these other purpose-driven agencies who serve purpose-driven clients, we have this triad that's called partner, business, and specialist. So we all know economics, supply and demand. Supply is the workers, the specialists and the virtual assistants and the partners, people doing the work, getting paid. And the people that are paying, the clients, the businesses. Supply and demand. And the partners are the ones that unite. That, for example, when we speak at conferences, that's bringing together a lot of potential businesses, ideally in different niches that we want to serve. And then when we do work at universities, or we create courses with onlinejobs.ph or Fiverr or other folks, you guys have probably seen these courses. We're uniting the worker community, or the assistants, you know, Fancy Hands. We're on their blog talking about how we love Fancy Hands, right? And so the partner is teaching, as you see on the right side, and we're bringing together those people that are doing and that are learning. So you have a marketplace in the same way Uber brings together a marketplace of drivers and riders. I believe that without a mission, if you want to be a larger agency, which isn't necessarily a good thing, you have to have a unifying mission. Otherwise, it becomes, how are you different than someone else who does SEO or builds landing pages or edits videos or makes websites or do whatever, right?
Agreed.
So you have to have a why, at least from a marketing differentiating standpoint, but then to legitimately have a why, like you talk about from a strategy standpoint, what does that mean internally? And so we created this document that talks about what this framework is. And just for fun, we call this your 90-day plan the profit.
Yeah.
And this is one way, because a lot of people can say they have a strategy. They can say that they care. And you've probably seen even more mission statements than I have of agencies. And I'm just as cynical as you are, I think, if it's even. And come on, how often, Robert or Enrique or Tanner, do you see an agency that says, we service everybody, no matter how big or how small, and we always do quality work, and we always have the best people, and we have great service, and we're all very like, no, that's not possible, right? Can you back that up? Is that legitimate? Of course not, right? And because there's limited resources. And, you know, in any agency, there's usually one or two people that are really good, that are used to close the client. And then, you know, once you close the client, then you get the people that suck, because there's always new people, and you got to put them on somebody's account, right?
Yeah.
So that's reality, right? Agencies primarily are hiring young adults, just like we are. At least we're being open about it, right? And we have clear processes. They may or may not. But we think about these three stages that work, whether you are an individual consultant trying to expand because you get more staff, you have more partners and VAs, you start to have more internal team members. Now you start to have full-time people. You have this foundation that you're then putting content. The content comes an ad agency that decided to make rainbows of your logo. And the client work is what you do based on that package, that repeatable thing that you do based on a lighthouse, and this system sustains itself. And so you can easily come in and objectively say, do you have these foundational components? Right? And these aren't the only ones, but this is the start. And we've listed these ingredient numbers because they all link to how do you actually do it the right way, not just to check the box to say, okay, I'm on LinkedIn, right? You could look at my LinkedIn, I'll even show you, right? Here's how you create content for your agency because of the work that you do in your agency. And so the culprit of the why video, we talk about the components. Here, I'll just click on it. We talk about the components of a why video. And the why video doesn't have to be some overarching keynote Simon Sinek kind of thing. It can simply be, I was at Whole Foods yesterday And instead of buying the fried chicken, I bought the celery smoothie because I care about my body. It can be different clients that you interviewed and they talk about why they got in the business. It can be Enrique talking about what is it like to be a disabled veteran. And when the 4th of July fireworks come, that feels like, it feels like shooting and mortars going off, right? Lots of examples of just telling stories of why. I think to your point, we don't have to say why necessarily because it's been polluted. It can be simply telling stories that are meaningful about what you stand for, right?
Yeah.
And these can be told on your iPhone. These can be done professionally. We have lots of these, right? So many different ways of doing it. That's the why. The why is showing that you're human. And if people don't know you, like you, and trust you, they're not going to do business with you. And then the execution on the client side, based on your values, based on your processes, based on things that you say you don't do so that clients can trust you in the things that you do say you do. And when you have a clear process of how you execute to drive sales or drive whatever it is that you say that you do repeatably, measurably, then you can have what we call repeatable excellence and do it over and over again and produce content as you are executing, which then brings you back over here, which then brings you back over here to your foundation. And so it's something that has to be organic. And I mean organic not in the paid sense of organic, but organic in terms of it comes from within. Like, look, here we're on my LinkedIn, and I'll literally make a post about, here's one thing, I think I posted this yesterday. I think I had 3 posts on LinkedIn yesterday. Hey, if you're not doing well in business, you're probably a peacock. You're focusing on how you look instead of actually getting the work done.
Yeah.
Right. And here all these people are coming in and talking about this and giving their feedback, right? That's organic.
Yeah.
Organic not as in not paid, but organic as in this is what we care about. And you
But
can see here.
So I'm just going to push back very, very slightly on you, Dennis, because I think that, I mean, the problem, if you just take it one stage further to, Gary Vaynerchuk could talk a similar thing about use social media, and he can do that because he's got like 500,000 followers. So any time there's 100,000 people who follow him who are actually probably on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and you and I have quite a following, but for the ordinary agency owner, there's 2 things I want to say. So the first thing is, for the ordinary agency owner who's only got 100, 200 followers, it's tough starting to get that kind of engagement. It's obviously in some senses a numbers game. If you've got 100 true followers, 5 or 6 might comment. If you've got 1,000, 10 or 15 might comment, and so on and so forth. So it's a slow game. Now I totally get and I hate the word authenticity, but I totally get the authentic way that you're because you can only be authentic in my mind. But I totally get the authentic way you're doing that. You're growing and building your reputation. Do you think that's possible for someone with a smaller following than yourself, or smaller following than I've got to do? It's just, I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate, really.
It's not a popularity contest. Although, look, here's a post I made on LinkedIn a couple days ago, 600 likes, 200 comments. Some of these are going to turn into clients, right? But that's not what we're going for. Look, if you're a small agency and you've got only a few clients, how many more leads do you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's where they are. We see people who just agency and they're successful off of this. And look at all these people that are reaching out to me. You don't need, in fact, you don't even want what I have. Believe me.
Yeah.
Like having the blue check marks is not, it's actually a curse. It drives all kinds of things you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, Tanner's 21 years old. He just turned 21, celebrated in the Bahamas. And look at the client base that he has. Arguably, he's not doing all these crazy sorts of things. He doesn't have a ton of experience, maybe only 3 or 4 years of experience, right? But look at what he's able to do because of who he's meeting.
Yes.
Not me, this guy. And this guy, Billy Jean. Have you heard of him? Right? See Billy Jean. Look at these mutual connections, right? It's quality, not quantity.
And what's funny is Dennis and I, we're going to be speaking in front of a lot of gym owners here in October. And imagine if we got on stage and we were out of shape, how that would look.
If I'm out of shape, you're in shape. I'm the one
Yeah.
who's not in shape. All right, let's be clear.
Okay.
Authentic, right?
Right. But it's the authenticity, because why would you buy from somebody? Why would you want to work with somebody that's out of shape, that doesn't portray what they're talking about?
Okay, so let's just try and pull this, because we started off talking about purpose and the kind of the Synex stuff. We've moved to a kind of a different definition of defining your why, away from, in some senses, away from that traditional sort of, if you've got a why, everything will be okay, whether you're a business, or whether it's personal, to actually saying, if there's an what's the word I'm looking for? If there's an integrated, if there's a clear focus, if there's a clear from inside out consistency, call that authentic. And if we're not trying to be all things to all people, and if we're clear about, you know, who, I mean, there is a strong argument that always you should start with who, not why. Like, who are you trying to serve, and then why are you trying to serve them? But if you're clear about who you're trying to serve and why you're trying to serve them, and how you're different, then suddenly it's like all the dots suddenly start joining up, because you suddenly discover, as I find now, it's like someone chooses to follow you and you suddenly discover, hey, wow, we've got 200 people in common, or whatever it is, or hey, you were also at that conference, or you were at that conference. Wow, that's, so you start seeing the patterns, and by definition it's almost impossible to see the patterns if you're trying to be all things to all people, because there's just that bland beigeness by definition. Because as a customer, I'm thinking, what makes you different from the rest? You have similar looking websites, you sell similar stuff delivered by similar people using similar software and similar hardware, charging similar prices, using similar proposals to sell me similar stuff. It's just so, and the websites always have people pulling ropes, climbing trees, or alternatively climbing up rocks. It is so bland for the customers. So we need to be able to demonstrate that we aren't like the rest. And I mean, the other thing for me is that does this work at all levels of business, or does this only work for smaller independent agencies? What are your thoughts on that?
It works for everybody, because people buy from people, whether you're a larger agency or not. So let's go back to Tanner's example.
Yeah.
So this is Jim Bunch. Jim Bunch sold one of his companies for a couple $2 billion. So let's just say that he doesn't have need for money. Right?
Yeah.
And Tanner and I are so lucky to have Jim as a mentor. Why would he spend any time with us? Like us adding $1 million to his bottom line, it's not going to change things for him, right? And so Jim has spent time mentoring us, teaching us, feeding us at his house that overlooks the ocean in San Diego. It's very nice, right? And Tanner posted this. He doesn't have many connections. And he said, how much would you pay a billionaire to wear your company's gear? I got to spend time with him. And so he's sharing things that he's learned from someone who grew a company from nothing to several thousand employees and a couple $2 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
Right? And why does that make sense? Is it because he's trying to show off that he's hanging out with billionaires? No, it's because he knows that he's working with successful entrepreneurs, founders, not megacorps, that tie in with health and fitness and veterans, right? And thus, the more he has content around those topics, organized by the topic wheel, the more it attracts other people that are like Jim.
Right.
And the more that we have videos that we've made together with Jim or Enrique or Mike Arce or Phil Rendazzo, these other folks, it's less about Tanner building his personal brand and, oh, look at me, and here's some Ferraris. It's more about he is sharing knowledge from other people that are right in his topic wheel, that attract the people that he wants. And so because of that topic wheel, because of the why that's embodied in the topic wheel, it drives leads and connections to where he's able to close deals from people that approach him, And that's the difference. The sign of a legitimate why is, does it drive the kinds of clients that you want? So having a why, it's easy to bash on that and say it's not necessary or say it's bogus. Well, do you think having a good night's sleep is important? Of course. But if you don't also exercise, if you don't also eat right, if you don't also, right, in the same way, if you have an agency, you can have a why, but if you don't have solid operations, you don't have people, you don't have a documented process, it doesn't matter. So you can't say that if you just have a why, oh, now everything's great, I don't have to do anything. No, it's one part of having a successful agency.
I think that's
So interviewing other people, like here, our agency hires young adults, and we're talking about the pros and cons of young adults. You can see, right? Tanner is talking about, he's sharing content. Oh, look, there's Tanner sharing Matthew's content, which is great, because then Matthew will come in and like, oh, even 100 people like this. He's only got 1,000 connections or what have you. 100 people have liked that, right? Not that's what matters, right? He's friends with Marcus Murphy. He's here on Susan Sly's podcast, right? Oh, that one's with Marcus Murphy. But he's sharing other people that are part of his network. And I think that a why is as simple as doing that. It's not some grand arching vision about saving, people on the planet and children in Africa who are starving. I mean, those are all important things.
Whales
It doesn't have to be some global thing. It's simply something that you stand for, small little stories. And that's what you see here. There's something inauthentic about a global cause. But there's something very real about these little things here. Like in a few days, we're going to be hanging out with Brad Lee, who's the CEO of Lightspeed. So we're sharing his content. And before we meet Brad, because he called us and said, hey, let's work together, we're going to do research, as any agency should before you meet with somebody, right? Here we are in London having one of these meat pies. This is Heathrow Airport or wherever this gets. I don't know why the British like these meat pies, but they're pretty good.
They're all right, yeah.
All right.
But you can see he's sharing stories, right?
Yeah.
It's that simple. Here we are on stage. This is right after we met. We were in Romania keynoting in front of a bunch of people. Right?
Yeah.
There's my face here, and here and we take turns speaking, right? Does that create authority? Yes, it does. But does it, like even you see here, secret weapon of 7-figure founders, right? We know who we want to talk to, and we know who we don't want to talk to. And the why is as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. So the message for the people listening in, and because they've come onto a call saying define your why, is they're saying, okay, what do I they're saying, okay, do I now get what a why is, and I guess they're all here thinking, okay, so what do I do next? What are the things that I should be doing? So thank you very much.
Yeah.
So just run me through what you think agency owners should be doing.
So through your life, there was a very specific moment that you decided to become an agency owner, and why, right? For me, I'll give you my background. I was a college football athlete, trained for years and years to get to the college level to help my family. And 2 weeks before my first game, I completely tore my shoulder. And I've never been so lost, because that was the only goal that I've ever had. And I just remember sitting down on the field, and I didn't feel really pain. I just felt numb, right? And it led me to believe that, wow, this can all be over within one play, 1 second. And your health can get the best of you. And so I want to help other fitness, either athletes, sports teams, prepare for the future, so that their brand is strong enough that if their career comes to an end, they can still have success in business from there on, right? So if you're a business owner, if you're an agency owner, what was that specific scene in your life, that specific instance where you're like, dang, it doesn't even need to be bad. What was that specific moment where you decided to get into business, where you decided to help people? What's something that you're passionate about, and make a video about it? It only has to be 60 seconds. You just talk about that specific movie scene, and set it up in this framework. When I was in college, I tore my shoulder. I believe that, and it's the realization from that specific movie scene, and then I am. Now you're saying, okay, now I'm Tanner Laycock. I'm the director of brand performance at Blitz Metrics, and I want to help athletes keep their career strong after their injuries. Right, and that's basically how you set it up, because now I'm not selling. I'm not trying to get your business. I'm trying to tell you a story that most people can relate to and feel for. Does that make sense?
Great. I can see I can almost hear people scribbling stuff down right now, thinking, and it's simple, and it's great, because it's the same as, when I told this agency to put the 50-page document in the bin because they didn't need it, because they kind of had the bits already. It was like such a sense of relief, and I think for a lot of agency owners, seeing such a simple starting point for defining their why it just takes all that weight of some deep, meaningful. I mean, this is meaningful because it's simple, but this search for this magical thing which is meant to unlock the whole of the future, and yet it does. This actually informs you as to how you should be going forwards. So I absolutely love that. That's absolutely great.
And this is, my story was a huge overarching story of something that's very, very dear to me, but there's tons of whys, right? There's tons of whys why you wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning because I have a little brother that I have to take care of. There's a why that I believe about the education system. There's a why that I believe about even this webinar, right? There's several whys, and you can tie all of these videos together to make your personal brand, your reputation, and what you believe in stronger.
And it brings in the right people that work for you, that work with you, that become clients, right? The why is necessary as a magnet to attract folks. So if you say, I'm Sally, I'm a mom with 2 kids, and I do anything for my kids, and I like the freedom of this, and one time one of my kids was bullied, and this is what happened at school, or we had to go to the hospital because she had an ear infection, or I'm not saying it has to be anything bad like Tanner said, really showing that you're human. It's not some crazy 50-page PowerPoint document that some McKinsey person made for you. Right. It's you with your iPhone saying what matters, even if you've not taken a shower today, whatever it is.
And it's important. And it's important too, because people should share their experiences, because that's what this is. You're connecting with them through your experiences in life, and it takes away the whole selling aspect of what you're trying to do, because you're just sharing that, hey, I am human. I want to share my experience, and if there's anything I can do for you not to experience that pain or or maybe help you get through something, then that's exactly what it becomes in a matter of 60 seconds. And
therefore the flip side of that is that if people do this cynically, they get spotted very, very quickly by definition, and therefore that's why the larger organizations find it so very difficult, because they cease to be made of individuals. They're made of kind of corporate robots, and they end up doing their thing. And yeah, I think there's actually something that you said, Dennis, very early on, is clearly there. I mean, I'm actually not as cynical as I come across. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but there are always going to be people in the middle who get away with it. So I know there's a couple of people in the UK speaking circuit, and they are frauds. I mean, that's the only way I can describe them. They're very good frauds. I mean, they're very compelling, and lots of people really like them. And slowly but surely, people realize that as they fleece people and they sell stuff that doesn't work, and they tell lies that it doesn't work, and some of them kind of get away with it. I mean, the ones. Here am I, this photo of me and Sir Richard Branson, but actually when you look at the photo, Branson's actually just in the same photo. They're not quite sort of actually, it's not like they're mates and they're talking. And here's a picture, and when Anita Roddick with the Body Shop said this, and here am I, being given, and yeah, they do fool some people. And I guess maybe my cynicism buttons turned up, because there are some people who've managed to wheedle their way in between the clear frauds and the good guys. And for me, you know, at the end of the day, I want to buy from the good guys, and I think that's why this why thing's so powerful. Certainly, you know, on my way here today, I bought some chewing gum. Did I care about the chewing gum company's why? No, I didn't. I bought some marker pens and pencils. Did I care about the manufacturer's why? No, I didn't. You know, so I don't go around obsessed with people's whys, but I do like to buy from the good guys, and I think the why is part of this kind of good guy feeling. I'm kind of getting a feeling we probably ought to wrap up, because we've been going nearly an hour. Let me hand it over to you, Dennis, to wrap up. I mean, over to you.
I'm glad you guys are spending time together. We got a chance to discuss. If you're on the recording, love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much, Robert, Tanner, Enrique, for helping us define that a why is more than a slogan that someone external comes up with. It is day to day what you are sharing about your life, and it's not a one-time thing. You don't work out just one time. You're always working out. You're always breathing. And every week, no matter how busy you say you are, you have a minute to share a story of someone else, of what they did, about something that happened in your life, about a realization, about a moment in the shower where there was some aha idea, about something you learned from a client, about a great experience that you had. And it doesn't have to be some universe-bending, mind-breaking realization. It can be simply, we did some fireworks, watched fireworks last night, and it was a lot of fun hanging out with rich people, eating their hot dogs and barbecue chicken. And I'm grateful for that, you know, or just things like, just simple things like that to show that you're a human, to be authentic, which is what people talk about. We would love to see you put this into practice and find that this is what strengthens your relationships. This is what causes your clients to pay you more and stay longer. This brings you referrals, so you don't have to cold call. You don't have to have any of these free calls anymore, right? You want to grow your agency, you believe in having a life balance and being able to take care of your kids. You do that by sharing the things that matter to you, that resonate with the clients. And if those things don't resonate with them, those relationships probably won't last as long. The clients that we have had for 6, 7+ years, it's because we have built a human relationship where we hang out and we share common hobbies, we share values, and arguably we're pretty good at PPC and Facebook ads and analytics. But I would argue that even if you have mediocre skills, if you have a strong why, that can overcome failures that happen, because you hire team members that they screwed things up, they didn't deliver the report, they wasted some money, they made mistakes, there are typos in the ads. You know, those, I'm not saying it's okay to have those problems, but when you have a strong why, it gives you a little bit of leniency. And I'd love to see, no matter how busy you think you are, you don't have a professional camera, you don't want to be a social media, Gary Vaynerchuk, look at me every 3 seconds. But that's only one example of why. The Simon Sinek overarching story about leaders that do these super heroic things, that's not what you need to do. Just you be you, put it out there, and the things that work with clients in person are the things that work digitally. Work on yourself as a client at the same priority as your actual clients, and you will find that your agency will thrive. And you want to listen to people like Robert Craven. He knows what he's talking about because he's seen hundreds of other agencies and the kinds of bollocks and nonsense that they will subscribe to. So save yourself a ton of money and headache by being a little more cynical, the devil's advocate like Robert. So guys, thank you so much for your time. I had a blast.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's great talking.
That's right. We'll have Simon Cynical. You got to go get that website.
Hashtag Simon Cynical. Brilliant. Thanks a lot, everyone. Been absolutely great.
Awesome. Talk soon.
Okay, bye.